Now, for number 52, our goal is to get M by itself. Now, what do you see when you see number 52? When you look at number 52, what do you see?
X plus B. You
Okay.
got to subtract that. You got to subtract F,
The
X.
M and the X are together.
M and the, no,
We got to get rid of the X and the B.
So you subtract that.
I see a married couple and a single friend. Do y'all see the married couple
Yes.
and the single friend? Who do we have to get rid of first?
The single friend.
The single friend, because we don't want any witnesses when we have a divorce. So, it matters who we get rid of first. We have to get rid of the single friend so we don't have any witnesses. So what do we have to do first in this problem?
Subtract.
We have to subtract the B. We have to get rid of the single friend. So that is going to give me what on the front of the problem? Y minus B equals
M.
mx. Now, my goal was to get m alone. So who am I moving now?
The
X.
The x. How am I moving him?
Dividing everything.
Dividing him. So my answer is going to be y minus b all over x.
How many of these we have on?
All right, the question has come up. How many of these do we have on the test? We are in 6.3. The first section was 35 to 44. So, let's go to handouts and study sheets. Let's go to chapter 6 spreadsheet. Let's save it and open it. So, 6.3. 15 to 22, that was the section where I told you A was this, B was this, plug it in and work it out, which is not what we're doing. Solving for Y, 35 to 40, you have one of those. So you have one of the problems where you have to get Y by itself. So you have one of the problems where you have to move over the couple and divide each piece. You have one of those.
How many like 41? The one we had the extra couple in, the single person.
Hold on, let's see. Okay, I said 35 to 40, I think I said. Is that what I said?
So you have 41 in
Do you see 41 on there?
there?
No. That's good. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
No.
Thank you, Jesus. There was no 41 on there with the extra couple. No extra couple. I only stopped at
38.
those two. So I'm going to put on the test right here. There is no 41 on the test. Then I skip to 45 through, what did I say? 45 through 53. Solve formulas for a given variable, 45 to 53, which are going to be like this. So you're going to have one like this, where you have to solve for a given variable that's not y. So you're going to have one of these on the test, 45 to 53. So you do not have one like number 41.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper.
All right, so let's look at number 49. This one I will say is quite tricky because the way my math lab wants you to enter it, our goal is to solve for capital B. Now, the first thing that most people don't like in this problem is that it's a fraction. So it is capital V equals 1/3 big B times H. So the first thing that you need to do is to get rid of the fraction. So the first thing you need to do is to multiply both sides by 3. That will get rid of your fraction. So whatever the fraction is, multiply by the reciprocal or multiply by that number. So that's going to get rid of your fraction. So that gives you 3V equals big B times H. So what do I need to do now?
Divide.
Divide by who?
3.
Three.
What are we
3B.
trying to get alone?
The
B.
So
So
it'll be-
H.
So we're gonna divide by
H.
H. You've got to keep in, check who you're trying to get by itself. Don't just randomly move things around the house. So what is my final answer gonna be?
3B divided by H.
And when you type that in, it's gotta be 3 big V divided by H. So the 3 big V goes in the top and the H goes in the bottom. 3 big V on the top, H on the bottom. 3 big V on the top, H on the bottom. So the easiest thing to do is to multiply both sides by whatever the fraction is, and then get rid of whatever's next to what you're trying to get by itself. So you have one of those. Cool? All right, now we're doing 56 through 63. If I come over to my spreadsheet, 56 to 63. Do you see in section 6.3, 56 to 63?
No.
No, which means you have these in your homework, but you do not have these on the test. So I'm going to put not on test. They're in your homework, but they're not on your test. So for this next problem, A equals 1/2 BH. We need to solve it for B. So what's the first thing that we're going to
So you
do?
wanna get rid of that 1/2.
So how are we going to get rid of the 1/2?
2 times 8.
We're going to multiply both sides by 2. That gets rid of my fraction.
Then you want to divide.
So what do I write down that I'm left with?
BH.
2A.
2A equals
BH.
BH. What do I divide by?
H.
We divide by the H. So H is going to equal 2 capital A over H. 2 capital A over H. 2 capital A over H. Two big A over H equals, that should be a B on the back, my bad. We were solving for B. All right, what about number 61? We want to solve for C. It's like a puzzle.
So you want to get rid of that 9/5, so BL.
We got a married couple and a single friend.
Get
So
rid
you
of
go
the
to
32.
subtract single first, right?
Yes, so what do we need to do?
Subtract 32.
Subtract 32. We cannot put the F and the 32 together because one's a letter and one's numbers. So that's F minus 32 equals 9 over 5C. F over 32, F minus 32 equals 9/5 C. Now, how do we get rid of that fraction?
You multiply.
Multiply by
That's
5 over 9. Now, I'm going to put parentheses around it because the parentheses means I'm multiplying everything by 5/9. So I've got to put parentheses to let me know that I'm multiplying everything by 5/9. Which is kind of like the distributive property. You're doing 5/9 times F and 5/9 times negative 32. And again, these are not on the test. Just get it through the homework. 5/9 parentheses F minus 32. Alright,
It's pi.
we wanna get S by itself. We got a couple and a menage a trois. We got a twosome and a threesome. We wanna get S by itself.
So you wanna get rid of pi r to the square root?
Right, and how do we get rid of the pi r squared?
Subtract.
So we're gonna subtract pi r squared from both sides. So it's gonna be S minus pi r squared equals pi r s. S minus pi r squared equals pi r s. Now, my goal is to get S by itself. So I'm trying to move the pi and the r.
So you divide, you multiply,
They're held together by multiplication, so how do I get rid of them?
you divide.
So it's gonna be S minus pi r squared over pi r. Notice how this one is a capital S and the other one is a lowercase s. The one on the left is a capital S and the one on the right is a lowercase s. So adult Sam and little Sam. So when you type it in, one's gonna be a capital S and the other one's gonna be a little s. These are not on your test, these are just in your homework, and you'll have this to look at. Alright, for the next one, A equals P, 1 plus N times R, and we're solving it for R. So the first thing I want to do is I don't want to mess with this, I want to get rid of him.
You subtract.
How's he held together?
Multiplication.
He's held together by multiplication. So how am I going to get rid of multiplying by P?
Divide.
Dividing by P. That gets rid of him. So that's going to be A over P equals 1 plus NR. A over P equals 1 plus NR. Now I have a single friend plus a married couple.
Subtract.
So what am I going to subtract?
1 N.
I'm going to subtract the single friend. So that's going to be A over P minus 1 equals NR. My goal, remember, is to solve for R. So who am I getting rid of now?
N.
The N. So how do I get rid of an N?
Divide.
Divide.
Divide. Now, y'all, this looks gross, but it is what it is. It is A over P minus 1 all over N equals R. A over P minus 1 all over N equals R. A over P minus 1 all over N equals R. I promise that's the end of those. I'm not going to give you the hard ones, I'm just going to give you the easier ones. Now, next thing we're going to talk about is simple interest. Does anybody know the simple interest formula? Simple interest formula. What does interest mean, number one? If somebody says I gotta pay you interest,
Something more than the original.
more than the original. So if you're broke and you need somebody to pay you money, they're charging you to give you money for money that you don't have. So simple interest, and I have it on your note sheet as well, underneath handouts and study sheets, remember I gave you the study guide and I also gave you notes that I pulled out of the book and I just simplified for you. So we are under 6.3, right here it says simple interest. So I'm gonna copy these and stick it in these notes so that we'll have it as well. Simple interest, the formula is I equal PRT. So here is simple interest. Into current page, let me see if I did it, there it is. Okay, so simple interest, the formula is I equal PRT. Move these down so we can talk about it. So simple interest, the formula is I equal PRT. Simple interest, I equal PRT. I is the interest, that's the extra amount that you pay for borrowing money. So I is your interest. P is the principal. P is the actual money that you borrow. So in this case, our principal is going to be $4,500. R is your interest rate, but that interest rate we have to change to a decimal. So if our interest rate is 2.5%, what is that going to be as a decimal?
Point, no.
We got the woo-woo. So if it's 2.5%, we've got the woo-woo.
Right.
0.025. So we never use the percentage, we also always woo-woo. We always move it 2 times. And our T is our time in years. So for this one, our T is going to be 1 year. So if we do the formula, I equals P times R times T. Our principal is going to be $4,500. Our interest is going to be 0.025. And our time is going to be 1 year. And when we multiply all that together, that's going to give us our interest. That's going to tell us how much we have to pay him extra. So if I go to my calculator, I'm going to do $4,500 times 0.025 times 1. So we're going to have to pay him $112.50 of interest. So because this person was nice enough to give us money when we were broke, we're going to have to give him interest of $112.50. Now, that's going to be question 1, determine the interest. Question 2 says, what is the total amount that we have to pay back? Well, we've got to pay him the $4,500 that we borrowed, plus the $112.50 of interest. So we've got to pay him $4,612.50 total. So that's why everybody always says you got to have money to save money. Because if you needed $4,500 and you had $4,500, it would have cost you $4,500. But if you needed $4,500 and you have no money, it's going to cost you $4,612.50. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's simple interest. This is still 6.3. Simple interest. Now, if we go to our spreadsheet for just a minute, doesn't look like we have simple interest on our test.
That's easier than what we were
Doing. Now, 6.4. 6.4 is talking about application problems. Application is a fancy name for word problems. We know that you don't like word problems, so we give it a different name. We call it application problems. Those are word problems. Now, we're going to start off really easy. We're going to take phrases and we're going to turn them into basic phrases from English into mathematics. Now, what I'm going to start off with is I'm going to take what we did in our notes And we're gonna talk about that first. So let me take this. See if there's anything on the next page. No, let me start with this. Okay, so, oh, well, that came out different. Let me see if I can do it in the other format. Let's do enable editing. There we go, that's how I want it. All right, so let's go to 6.4 notes, and we're going to talk about this for just a second before I get into, and most of y'all know this. This is not given to you on the test, but most of y'all know these are some of the English words that mean add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So when you hear the word sum is another name for add. Plus, more, add, increase, total. When they total your bill at Walmart, they're adding it. So these are just some of the words that mean add. Some of the words that mean subtract. Difference, minus, less, subtract, decrease, fewer. Those all mean subtract. Product, multiply, times, double, twice, of. A lot of people don't realize that of means multiply. Triple, quadruple, those all mean multiply. And then these are a couple of words that mean divide. Quotient and divide. Okay? The word is means equal. So if I say 1 and 1 is 2, is usually means equal. Okay? So these are just some of the words that means add, subtract, multiply, divide, and equals. Now, just like in English, y'all have some exceptions, you know, I before E, except after C, and all those things that we have to keep up with. There's some exceptions in math. And here's some exceptions that you need to know. And we just talked about this one, 23%, we said we have to whoop whoop. So 23%, you got to whoop whoop, and the word of means multiply. So if I say 23% of a number, that means, not that. That means 23% means 0.23 times a number. So 20.23 of n means 0.23 times a number. So here's some other things I want you to know. If I say y less p, we know the word less means subtract. So we would do y minus p. Okay? Now, if I say y less than p, if you have the word than, bells need to go off in your head. When you have the word than, what's written at the front goes to the back, what's written at the back goes to the front. So yes, it's still subtract, but it's going to be p minus y. So when it's less than, you flip-flop them. So if it's just less, you write it the way it's written. But if it's less than, you flip-flop them. Okay? If you have A subtract B, it's going to be A minus B. If you have A subtracted from B, you flip-flop it. Oops, wrong one. So the word from and than, those are your two magic words. So I have some examples up here. If you see the word than or from, you're going to flip-flop it. Than and from. Otherwise, we write it the way it's written. Now, I have some people say, well, what if it's more than? What if it was 5 more than 2? Do I have to flip it?
No.
It doesn't matter, because 5 plus 2 and 2 plus 5 gives you the same answer. So if you want to remember, I flip it all the time, it doesn't matter. But when it's subtraction, if it was 5 less than 2, There's a difference between 5 minus 2 and 2 minus 5. If I have $5, you can take 2 away from me. But if I have $2, you can't take 5 away from me. So it's going to be wrong if it's a subtraction problem. If it's an addition problem, you're going to get lucky. But I just say, if you want to remember if it's a from or a than, flip-flop it. Okay? So, let's start doing some of this. Alright, so I'm going to start off easy and then we're going to slowly get harder. The first one, 5 less than x.
X minus 5.
So that would be x minus 5. Had it said 5 less x, what would that be?
5 minus 8.
5 minus x. See the difference? Okay, what about number 8? 6 times x decreased by 1. 6 times x. So how do I do 6 times x? 6x, because we know if they're written side by side, that means multiply. And then how do I do decrease by 1? There's your answer. And y'all, we don't do the times as an x, because if I wrote it like this, we don't do that, because then it would be confusing. So we just write the number and the letter side by side, because we know that means multiplication. So 6x means 6 times x, and then decreased by 1 is going to be your minus 1. And we're writing a phrase as a mathematical expression, so we're turning the English into math. Okay. 5 less than twice the number. So we hear bells going off in our head.
2x. 2x.
So that means whatever's written front goes to the back, and whatever's written at the back goes to the front. So it's going to be 2x minus 5.
So a number is 8.
Right, and they're going to tell you in my math lab, they're going to say let the number be n, or let the number be x, or let the number be p. So they're going to tell you what the number is. In my thing, I'm just going to say let it be x unless they tell me something. Like here they say x, or here they say t. So in my math lab, they're going to say let the number be p, because if you don't put what the number is they tell you, so for like this, if you typed p, they'll mark it wrong. So you've got to use, so if they don't tell me, I'm going to put whatever letter I want it to be. But they're going to tell you. Alright, so what about for the next one? 8 increased by 5 times a number. 8 increased by means 8 plus
5x.
And take it in little bites, y'all. I mean, this is like Thanksgiving dinner. You can't eat all of Thanksgiving dinner in one helping. Eat a little bit, sit back and digest it. Eat a little bit more.
This is 6.4.
This is 6.4. Yes. 8 plus 5x. Okay? So, sum means we're doing what? So we are adding 2 things. So sum means we're adding 2 things. And the 2 things that we're adding is 8 and 2. And then that sum is being divided by 2. So we are taking that addition problem and dividing it by 2. So it's going to be 8 plus t divided by 2.
Could you, if you didn't write it like that, can you divide it 8 plus t divided by 2?
Now,
Like
if
the
you write
side?
it like this, like that.
No, A plus T with the little divide sign. Like that, can you write it like
Now,
that?
if you write it like that, you're gonna have to do that.
Oh, okay,
Because if you write it like this, technically you're only dividing the T by 2.
okay,